Dr. Hongwei, are you ready with your presentation?
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone. My name is Wang Weili. I'm a medical doctor from Brazil. I'm infectious disease specialist too. And I would like to thank the organizing committee to inviting me to this conference to share some of my studies. The first study that I will present today is chakras energy deficiencies as the cause of fatigue post-SARS-CoV-2 infections patients treatment. It has been 29 years since my medical school graduation. I have 6 specialties, but the first being infectious disease, though for the last 23 years I've been working with medical acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine in my own clinic in Brazil. I've been working worldwide medical conferences, all emphasizing to treat the patient as a whole, in the energy point of view, and not only the patient symptoms. This presentation was made following what Hippocrates said, that it's important to consider other ancient medical traditions prior to the knowledge we have nowadays. So I choose to use traditional Chinese medicine to treat my patients, and once traditional Chinese medicine looks the patient as a whole and treating on the roots of the disease and not only the symptoms. An outbreak of pneumonia began in December 2019 in Wuhan, and a novel coronavirus was identified as the causal agent and was later named SARS-CoV-2. In the March 11, 2020, the World Health Organization General Directors announced that coronavirus disease was the first pandemic caused by coronavirus. Can you turn off your speaker because there is a sound behind?
नहीं अभी तो नहीं करना मतलब हमको थोड़ी सी भी करना होगा तो जैसे अपनी फाइल बैकग्राउंड में खोल के रखना पड़ेगा ना
1 second, Dr. Hongwei.
ये वापस से मिनिमाइज कैसे होगा
Yeah, there are someone is speaking.
बंद भी करना पड़ेगा
Dr. Talwar, can you just put off your speaker?
Okay. According to this study, Guo et al., in the article, The Origin, Transmission, and Clinical Therapies on Coronavirus Disease, an update on the states, 38% of the patients studied had fatigue due to SARS-CoV-2 infection. Fatigue is the state of feeling very tired, weary, or sleepy, resulting from insufficient sleep, prolonged mental or physical work, or extended period of stress or anxiety. For an explanation of TCM, the reason for the symptoms of fatigue, there are some sound in the background. Can you turn off the speakers? For an explanation in traditional Chinese medicine, the reasons for the symptoms of fatigue are induced by deficiency in the organs, including Qi, blood, yin and yang deficiencies caused by the invasion of the exogenous pathogens, excessive physical strains such as manual labor, mental labor, and sexual intercourse, abnormal emotional states, or an improper diet. To introduce the energy deficiencies, I would like to show a study I did in my clinic between years 2015 2020, where I measured the center's energy meridians among 1,000 patients, analyzing 409 files records, and I could note that almost more than 90% of my patients had no energy in any of the 5 massive organs, or in the kidney, liver, heart, spleen, or lung energy. And I believe that these energy deficiencies aren't a thing that is happening only in my patients in my city, but it's something that is all the people in the whole world, and I will explain why during this presentation. To explain this presentation better, explain the concepts of energy deficiencies in patients with fatigue after SARS-CoV-2 infection, I will expose 3 case reports I treated in my clinic in Brazil. The first case is a 35-year-old female who had the SARS-CoV-2 infection in early August 2020, and she sought treatment with me because she felt very tired, discouraged, stressed, exhausted mentally and physically after the infection. In the first appointment, she told me that she had SARS-CoV-2 infection, and after 6 days of contact with a person who had the flu, she manifested very cold, increasing tiredness, runny nose. And from the 7th day on, she was very weak, without energy, fatigued, short of breath, very difficult to breathe, causing chest pain and a lot of cough. And she just wanted to sleep, and she couldn't even get out of bed. And the 2-year-old daughter and her husband had a fever, which led her to take the exam of SARS-CoV-2 infection that was positive for her and for her husband. She did not take any medication, only some homeopathy medication called Coroninum 30 CH at the night, and next day she noticed improvement of her symptoms. And the husband had a fever for about 10 days, a lot of body pain. He took azithromycin and Coroninum too, and homeopathy medication, when he saw that he was very weak. And she used contraceptives and sometimes homeopathic complex containing natrium muriaticum, kalium phosphoricum, and magnesium phosphoricum. And she had a little appetite, and she didn't feel like eating, wanting to eat only more industrialized things, very sweet. Before SARS-CoV-2 infection, she always did exercise, swimming, and gym. And after she stopped exercising and is lowering, is resuming, but she still feels like she doesn't have enough energy. She is very tired, mental and physically, debilitated with insomnia, without appetite, swelling, and weight gain, without energy to work, and without sexual energy. And I recommend the treatment with Chinese nutritional therapy, counseling the patient to avoid the dairy products, raw food, cold beverages, and sweets, as to avoid the spleen pancreas deficiency of the 5th chakra that was responsible for the absorption of nutrients and production of blood. And I recommend her to drink warm water and consume only cooked foods. It was also recommended for the patients to avoid coffee, soda, mate tea, and to avoid kidney deficiency that was already low, shunning the radiesthesia procedure measure that her 2nd chakra doesn't have energy. And besides avoiding chocolate, fried foods, coconut, honey, eggs, alcoholic beverages, to avoid the liver and gallbladder imbalance that was impaired, shunning the radiesthesia procedure, that the 1st chakra was very weak in energy, and to avoid the production of heat. And her treatment was started to treat the energy imbalances with auricular acupuncture and apex circulatory to balance the yin and yang blood and take out the heat retention. And also I use the moxibustion to give energy to her too in the kidney meridian. As she came to my clinic only before the infection, the energy was not measured before, only after, but according to the patient's report, she had been weak since the birth of her daughter, so it's very likely that she already has energy deficiency before SARS-CoV-2 infection. So I prescribed for the patient the treatment with replenishment of the chakra's energy with homeopathy medications according to the theory constitutional homeopathy of the 5 elements based on traditional Chinese medicine created by me and crystal-based medications. And the use of this medication was done every day instead of 1 dose each 3 days. And the recommendation of this treatment is to do during 1 year, after 1 year, but only these medications every 1 or 2 months, and you need to see the evolution of these patients. And the patient is doing the moxibustion therapy every day, and she feels more energized, more excited. Her physical, emotional, and sexual tiredness has improved too. And she found the moxibustion was essential for her improvement and reported that one of the days she did the moxibussion, there was a lot of very important meetings that touched her emotionally, and the moxibustion felt good, having no problem with the meeting, doing very well. And after this treatment, even in situations of stress and irritation, she was unable to be emotionally affected. And she also reports that the day other than the treatment feels weaker. The second case report is a 67 years old male patient. On the afternoon of the first day, he started to have back pain. This was in September 2020. On the second day, he felt his nose clog and the pain in the back continued. On the Monday of the third day, the nose and throat were tested, and after 2 hours, it was positive result for SARS-CoV-2 infection. And the infectious disease doctor, it was not me, it's another infectious disease doctor, prescribed ivermectin 3 days, azithromycin 4 days, and afterwards it was prescribed corticosteroids for more 3 days. And the tomography showed an adhesion below 10%. Blood tests were done that showed no changes. And after the medication, his temperature remained 37.5 degrees throughout the day, and for 2 days at night, the fever reached 38 degrees, but he did not take any specific medication to lower the fever. In the second week, after 7 days, the only symptom that lasted was the temperature was between 36 and 37.5. And after 15 days, he was discharged to work again. And he only returned to work after 18 days. And when he went back to work, he felt that he woke up well. And from 2 p.m., his energy started to fall. And he felt sleep, tired, bad head, just went bad, even though I even thought about stopping work, he didn't even want to eat. As he is my dentist, I went to his clinic and he told me that he was very fatigued after having SARS-CoV-2 infection. He was already my patient since 2018. Therefore, I already had measured his energy that was all in the minimum level in 2018, and in the past had begun the treatment with homeopathies. So when he told me he had the SARS-CoV-2 infection, I prescribed the homeopathies at the dose of 1,000 CH. Once he had taken the doses of 30, 200, and 1,000 in the past. I gave him 10,000. And his medical history includes chronic kidney problems since childhood, hypertension, dental implants since 2000, and prostate cancer about 6 years ago when he had to remove the tumor, and also intensify the recommendations made in the first case report. And after 3 days, he was very well, in the patient's own words, managing to work normally after 3 days of taking the medication. And the third case report is a 17-year-old female patient who had SARS-CoV-2 infection without any clinical symptoms. She found out she had the disease after having symptoms of weakness, apathy, shortness of breath, and the feeling of low blood pressure and racing heart. And when she went to the hospital, where made some blood tests that confirmed that she had already passed through the contagion phase of the disease that was in the beginning of November 2020, and the test was done only after more than 20 days. And her parents looked for the hematologist, and she started to supplement iron and vitamin B12 as the patient became vegan since May 2020. And the doctor thought it could be the differentiating menu, but the mother thinks it was unlikely because they were being monitored by the nutritionist, and the girl was eating in a healthy way, correct, and required quantities. Even though she used these supplements, the symptoms only got worse, and she went to the emergency room on the city hospital several times to try to understand what was happening to her. At the last appointment, she underwent several tests, blood X-ray, electrocardiogram, and was medicated with anti-allergic and corticosteroids. The on-duty doctor referred her to a pneumologist for him to accompany the patient until she left the asthma crisis. She went to his specialist appointment, and he prescribed another anti-allergic plus a few days of corticosteroids and asked her to use inhaled capsules of Alenia for 30 days before turn for a next appointment. And she started treatment. After 3 days, the symptoms remained the same, and she felt weaker every day and with heartburn and stomach upset. It's believed that it was the side effect of the inhaler. She and her parents were already my patients, and all this happening in a short pause that I gave in my consultations in my office. As soon as I got back to my clinic, she went back to her appointment with her parents and reported such problems to me. I instruct the patients to do only acupuncture and moxibustion navel in 5 fingers below navel every day, and discontinue all other allopathic medications. I also measured the chakras, which showed that they were all without energy, with the exception of the 7th chakra that was normal. And her medical history, including asthma since 2 years old, using for a longer period allopathic medications such as corticosteroids. And only after she started using homeopathy gradually, she showed a significant improvement. And after her 13-year-old, when she got a cold, her asthma symptom was very mild, and she didn't even need to take inhalation and so on. The patient immediately started using single homeopathic doses for 5 days in a row, as well as crystal-based drugs to help increase energy as well. After a week, she started the second phase of treatment with a single dose of 200 ch of homeopathies, taking one dose a day too, instead of 1 dose every 3 days. I also intensified the recommendations of Chinese dietary caution to avoid all raw foods, dairy products, fried food, chocolate, egg, honey, coconut, and alcoholic beverages, and drink water only after boiling it. And after 3 days of treatment, the patient has already had a significant improvement. And after 8 days from the start of the treatment, all the symptoms mentioned above practically disappear completely, in her words. And then she continued with medicine based on crystals, acupuncture, moxibustion, and homeopathy. And the treatment done in Western medicine nowadays is an exclusively localized treatment, but TCM views the individual as a whole, and for better understand, I'd like to use the tree as a metaphor. The tree has a trunk with several branches. Each branch represents one medical specialty, and each leaf coming out of each branch represents the symptoms and disease of each specialty. The leaves and the branches are the visible part of the object of study and practice in the Western medical profession, and the focus is to treat each leaf in each specialty. And the treatment proposed by me aims to treat all the tree through the root, reach the health leaf, and also observing the influence of the external pathogenic factors that could be causing the symptoms of the patients. And to explain why I treat my patient, look at the root of the problems, I like to show one specific patient I treated myself in 2006. It was a 70-year-old male patient who searched for me because of his leg pain and didn't improve with the use of anti-inflammatory medications during 6 months. He searched for the treatment using acupuncture, and that is why he went to my clinic. And according to TCM, he was diagnosed with kidney iron deficiency. And he started the treatment with Chinese dietary counseling, systemic acupuncture, and auricular acupuncture with apex platelectomy. And with the treatment done, the pain in the legs diminished, and the patient was submitted an interview after the treatment. In this interview, 30 days after the treatment, the patient revealed his eye pressure had also lowered from 40 to 17, MAHG, as his ophthalmologist confirmed. And during the treatment, he had not reported to be treating glaucoma in the last 40 years with no improvement of his condition. And this unusual case became the cornerstone of all my studies in the field, try to comprehend how the treatment focus on the root of the problem could treat different disease and symptoms simultaneously and using the same method. In the root of this tree are some theories that guides the traditional Chinese medicine reasoning, and the first is yin and yang theory. Yin and yang are the two opposite forces that are believed to be present in all phenomena in the world. For traditional Chinese medicine, the yin and yang is the first and major cornerstone to understand health, diagnosis, and treatment. And the main principle represented by yin and yang symbol and contained in its meaning is the idea of complementary and cyclical opposites. This idea came from the observation of different nature phenomena, such as day and night, female and male, darkness and light, right and left, etc. In TCM terms, blood functions are to nourish and vitalize the whole body. However, to maintain blood's free-flowing state, another energy force must work in harmony with it. This energy is qi. Qi is the vital energy that invigorates blood to keep it circulate throughout the body, and blood and qi have a very important relationship and are mutually dependent. Qi prevents blood stagnation, and blood nourishes qi. And the internal heat is an energy imbalance generated by deficiencies of yin or yang or qi or blood, or a combination of these four energy deficiencies can lead to formation of internal heat inside the body. It can also be caused by incorrect diet, such as constant consumption of fried food, melted cheese, eggs, chocolate, coconut, honey, and alcoholic beverages. The second main theory based in traditional Chinese medicine is the 5-element theory. The 5-element theory states that there are 5 elements present in everything in the world, including our bodies. These elements are water, wood, fire, earth, and metal inside our bodies. And these elements will be represented by specific massive organs in TCM. These organs are considered massive organs, and they have extremely important parts in the well-functioning of the body. The wood element corresponds to the liver, the fire element corresponds to the heart, the earth element corresponds to the spleen, the metal element corresponds to the lung, and the water element corresponds to the kidney as represented in this slide. The main organs will support and control each other in the 5-element cycles. These are 2 important cycles in the relation of the 5 elements. They are the cycle of generation and control. In the generation cycle, the generation interacting of the element are exposed. Wood sends energy to the fire, that's heart. Fire sends energy to the spleen, that's earth. The spleen sends energy to the lung, that is the metal. Lung sends energy to the kidney, that's water element, and kidneys to the liver, that's the wood element. And one element can control the functioning of the other element in the control cycle. And the study of the chakra is also used in my daily practice. In the chakra corresponds to the 5 elements within the 5-element theory. And I describe it in the study of this study, Geometry of Emotions, written by this author and published in this journal. And he is correlating the 5 elements with the 5 massive organs in TCM. In this article, this author is explained that the mechanism of geomagnetic field influence on gene expression using influenza as a model system. And this basics of the physical epidemiology and also the Dr. Thomas Cohen show that the disease, including the epidemics, could be related to the electromagnetic waves and the 5G technology, because the electromagnetic waves will decrease the people's energy and energy is immunity in traditional Chinese medicine. And as I showed in the beginning of the presentation, all my patients are without energy in all the massive organs, including children. In my opinion, children, young adults, adolescents, and older people, all are in the same energy imbalance, that are in the weakest level of energy. And in my opinion, this is happening in all the world, causing the high number of sick people. In every infection process, there is a fight of energy inside our body to try to eliminate this external pathogen, causing a consumption of this energy that's already in the reserve to occur. And the infection only triggered a condition that the patient already had, caused by the increasing energy consumption that was already at the limit. And according to Hippocrates, the manifestation of the disease is only the body's reaction against the external pathogenic factor. And the first organ to be affected in patients infected by SARS-CoV-2 is the lung. So the first symptom that will appear is anosmia. And when the external pathogen does not block, it's internalized. And the next organ to be affected is the spleen, causing the patient to lose the taste. When the internalization process of the external pathogen worsens, other complications can occur. And the yin and yang energy are produced in the second chakra on the kidney. And the fifth chakra absorbs nutrients and is where the blood is formed and is stored in the first chakra, which is the liver, and is commanded by the third chakra with the heart. And the distribution of energy or chi occurs in the first chakra, which is the liver, and the fourth chakra, which is the lung. In order for blood distribution in the body to occur, the transmission of these four energies depend on the organs that are without energy. In TCM, these external pathogenic factors are believed to invade when the body of the patient is weakened in the energy, such as the Zen Qi. The Zen Qi is the ability of the organism to protect itself from the influence of the external pathogenic factors, exposing the tree metaphor as I show you in the beginning of my presentation, as well as the ability of the organism to recover after damaging influences or energy imbalances caused by emotional distress or a bad diet. An energy imbalance occurs as a result of a breakage of the relationship between real power and pathogenic power, between Zen Qi and the Xie Qi. And when the balance is disturbed, the yin and yang no longer fit, and the body becomes vulnerable to the damaging effects of the pernicious influence. For TCM, the root of most disease is a serious imbalance of the various energy systems of the body organs and the lack of overall functional harmony of the entire structure, which occur infrequently when an organic imbalance exists. And the human body has the capacity to resist the different pathogenic factors and to maintain a relative balance inside the body and between it and in the outside the world. This ability to resist is called the Zen Qi. And another important fact that could lead to reducing the energy of the organs is the use of high concentrated medications that must be done with attention, because according to Arnschut's law, small doses stimulate, moderate doses inhibit, and overdoses kill. Therefore, the use of high concentrated medication using all these three patients reported in this study, they lead to a worsening in the vital energy of this patient that was already low. And that is why they were having fatigue symptoms after SARS-CoV-2 infection. They didn't have during the infection, they had after this infection. And that is why I'm using to treat this kind of patient using high diluted medications such as homeopathies to replenish the chakra's energy meridian and to improve that cycle of yin and qi blood production to maintain health. And in the case of the first patient reported, as she is a pharmacist in a homeopathic pharmacy, she preferred to use homeopathies to treat herself as her husband too, despite the use of both medications. Homeopathy treats the patient by the principle of similarities. For example, if the person has a cough, shortness of breath, body pain, and fever, the substance that causes these problems will be sought and placed in the large dilution. And the homeopathic medicine Coroninum that the patient in the first case in her husband took is made from the secretion of patients who were infected with SARS-CoV-2 and in both proved to be effective. Perhaps this homeopathy is an option to treat patients infected with SARS-CoV-2, mainly due to the fact that homeopathy does not decrease the vital energy of the patients, but studies are still lacking in relation to this homeopathy medication. And this Coroninum homeopathy, according to the pharmacy that the patient in the first case works on the being prescribed as follow, can be prescribed as 30 ch, twice a day for 3 days, or prophylaxis using 200 ch. And as in the treatment, you can use 30 ch, 20 drops every 12 hours for 3 to 7 days. And also moxibustion has been used in Japanese and Chinese traditional medicine for at least 2 millennia to treat all the multitude of illnesses, including fatigue. This therapy involves repeated application of breath heat to specific points on the body. As I said in the beginning of the treatment, the fatigue is something that don't appear in any laboratory exams, but it's a symptom that so many people have, and it is in energy level. Before a disease is detected during laboratory exams, there has already been an alteration in the energy level. The patients have symptoms, but the tests are still normal. There are various phases of disease progression from health body to disease, and the phase 1 to 3. Only there are energy imbalances, but the laboratory exams are normal, and the patient will have alterations only in the phase 4 and 5. When it's very late, the evolution of the energy imbalances. And to you to understand better this difference, I will show 2 similar batteries, one charged and one discharged. Only the one that is charged will be able to use. And the same happens with the organs in our body. Aren't possible to see in the laboratory exam the charge of each one, because if you take a photo, you see that the 2 batteries are normal, but the energy inside them are not normal. That is why it's important to emphasize the importance of increasingly integrating Western and traditional Chinese medicine, as in this metaphor, with the symbol of yin and yang, one representing the Western medicine, that is the yin energy, that's materialized energy, and the traditional Chinese medicine represents yang energy, that's the non-materialized energy, and are indicated in this slide. And both medicine can work together to understand better how disease is formed in the deepest level, in the root of the tree, and they are opposite but complementary. According to Hippocrates, it's far more important to know what person has the disease than to know which disease the person has, because knowing the type of patient, you know the best type of medicine to treat him. It's important to say that homeopathy was recognized by the Federal Medical Council in Brazil in 1980, and acupuncture was recognized as medical specialty in 1995, both by the Federal Medical Council in Brazil. In this study, the conclusion of this study is that I'm demonstrating that patients with chronic fatigue after SARS-CoV-2 infection treatment have internal organs energy deficiencies prior to SARS-CoV-2 infection, and they aggravated the fatigue symptoms after the treatment received and improved their fatigue symptoms, replenishing these internal organs energies, leading to an important improvement of the fatigue symptoms using high diluted medications. And I would like to finalize this presentation with one quote from Hippocrates: "Natural forces within us are the true healers of the disease." Thank you for listening this long presentation. If you have any question, I will be very, very happy to answer it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hongwei. That was a great presentation.